Abhijit mentioned Op Sindoor and the message, subtle message or not so subtle message to Washington. It's very interesting. We've had generals today talking about an Op Sindoor 2. We've had generals today talking about an Op Sindoor 2 is being prepared. It's going to be larger than the last time. So one, that, and two, I want to pick up a question from our audience stream, and I want Tehseen also to think about this. Saurabh says, less than the tightrope between Israel and Palestine, India's greater challenge is going to be the tightrope between Israel and Iran. India's Shia population will have concerns in case of a war on Iran. Now, I want your take both on the Op Sindoor point that Abhijit made and what's going to happen if Trump actually does strike Iran. It's still an if. It's still an if because his administration is divided. It's not clear that he can achieve regime change without cost to America. It's not clear he has the appetite for it, but go ahead, General Hassan.
Barka, thank you. And these questions only deserve black and white answers. They really are not in the gray zone at all. As far as Operation Sindoor is concerned, there are no two ways about it. Operation Sindoor 2, 3, 4, whatever has to take place will be with the full might, full capability, calibration as necessary, and the requirements of the situation as per our national interest and a strategy which has been played out by the armed forces, backed by the political community completely. That's exactly what is going to happen, and nothing more than that. We are not into the game of, we have seen how we have resisted American pressure and the kind of things which have been spoken about, imposing a ceasefire on India, etc. I think we have pushed back sufficiently on that to explain to the world, we will play by our interest. India does that always, it plays by its national interest. Having said that, to come to this other question on Iran, I think we are overplaying this whole issue of the Islamic angle, the Muslim angle completely, right? For one, remember that you also have the Arab world there. Much of the Arab world is a Muslim world too. That itself on Gaza has had a completely gray approach, right? When it comes to their interests, they will play for it. When it doesn't suit their interests, they will play against it. This is how the world of geopolitics always performs. And this is exactly the policy that India is following at the moment. And as far as a crisis between Israel and Iran is concerned, India is midway. We don't have to side with anyone, right? What have we done in the case of Ukraine? I mean, we haven't sided with Russia. We haven't sided with Ukraine. We have played it, well, I won't say neutral that way, but we have played it as per our interest, right? Yeah. Made sure that we have never spoken out of turn. We haven't condemned anyone here and there. Mr. Modi went to the extent of saying this is not the season for war, if you remember in the famous statement to Mr. Putin at that particular time. I'm sure privately, this particular visit would have been used to a great extent by Mr. Modi to understand, gauge better this whole business, the gamut of the Gaza plan, peace plan, which is completely in the gray zone at the moment. No one knows what the hell is this plan all about. There is a board. There is a board. I mean, it's like saying, okay, let's put together an industry, but having a board first, and let's put the industry after that. Right? It's almost like that. But here, I'm sure the nuances of what really is expected from India. What would Israel really want from us? And to what extent can we go to support it, etc. It will give us much greater clarity at this time. But to say that on the sentiments of the Shia community of India, India is going to play geopolitics in a situation of a standoff between Israel and Iran is, I think, a preposterous understanding of geopolitics.
Okay, that's very bluntly and plainly said with no ambiguity at all. Tehseen, do you agree? You said that Palestine is a distant issue. General Hasnain believes it's preposterous to even suggest that there is a religious dimension to how India might respond on Iran. Do you agree with that? And B, I do want you to respond to the domestic politics that runs concurrent. You heard what Abhijit said. You have many differences with leaders like Jairam Ramesh in the Congress, but Priyanka Gandhi is somebody you do support. You are close to her. This is her comment. It's on the screen. Abhijit connects it to a sort of, political play in Kerala. How do you respond to both the points you've heard?
Thank you, Barka. So first, let me address the general's concerns. I slightly disagree with the general. if there is a war in the Iranian region, in that area of the globe, it affects India directly. How will India access Afghanistan if Iran is under attack? We can't access Afghanistan through Pakistan in any case. Iran is a friend of India. Israel is a friend of India. India's duty is to ensure, or hope is to ensure, that Iran does not sort of undergo an attack right now. I agree with you what you said, Barka. I don't think any regime change in Iran can happen without putting boots on the ground. No regime change in the world can happen or has happened without boots on the ground. And I don't think America has the appetite to put boots on the ground. So I don't think there'll be a regime change. But if Iran continues to stay under attack, India loses out. That's first. Second, you must also understand if Iran is significantly weakened, which are the two nations that get very powerful? One is Israel, a friend of India's. But the other nation that gets very powerful is Turkey. Is that in our axis? There's an axis of Turkey, Pakistan, and those other nations. And Turkey certainly does not act in India's interest. So India needs to maintain stability there. India needs a stable West Asia, therefore access to a central and a stable Central Asia for India. So I think these are two things that India would hope for. Whatever happens, India would be hoping that if there is an attack by the US, the Iranian regime sort of outlives it, and then it continues to sort of negotiate on the so-called nuclear deal. Right now, Turkey is talking about a nuclear weapon, and then sort of Saudi Arabia gets into the mix. In fact, nations that were opposed to Shia Iran are today ganging up and saying, "Look, we don't want this attack. Do not use our airspace, or at least negotiating with their airspace do not be used." Now, let me come to the domestic politics of it. While I do think a Muslim will not really vote on Israel and Palestine, I do think it resonates. Let's also not say that it does not resonate. So yes, there is the resonation of a left, sort of a left a worldview of what Israel used to be and how Israel is the evil empire attacking the Palestine. There's also a sentimental value, and with Kerala elections, politicians will have to sort of make that noise. Also, remember, under the left government, a Hamas terrorist was repressing a rally. So, you sort of understand what that sort of politics out there is. That was the left that was doing it. So the Congress will need to sort of keep its equilibrium with the Kerala elections, Tamil Nadu elections, and West Bengal elections. So I think those statements are domestic statements. Domestic politics happens everywhere. There is domestic politics in Israel, which is as complicated, if not more than India. As Abhijit rightly said, the opposition walked out when Netanyahu came in, but came back in to meet Prime Minister Modi. And again, nobody called the opposition anti-Israel or anti-national. They accepted it. So that's just the way politics is. Everywhere where there's politics, that will happen. I think India should do what's in our best interest. I don't think any hardware deals will be signed. I think what Netanyahu will try and convince Prime Minister Modi is in the hexagon that he wants. That is to fight the evil axis against Israel. That will involve USA, India, etc. I think India will be balanced out there as well.
I'm glad you've brought up this hexagonal alliance, so to speak, and I want to bring it to Abhijit. I said yesterday on my program that we've never been part of a military alliance, and Ambassador Bhashpati Mukherjee said, no, not never in 1971. We in fact were with the Russians. We very clearly picked a side, so I'm not going to make that mistake again. But generally, our foreign policy is rooted in this belief that we do not join formal alliances, right? So when Netanyahu makes this noise, when it's dubbed as a sort of counter to what's being called loosely as the Islamic NATO, the sort of convergence of, a few countries, the Pakistan-Saudi Arabia pact, how do you see India balancing Netanyahu's hopes for this hexagonal alliance?
So I love Ambassador Bhashpati very dearly, but we need to remember that was a mere mutual cooperation pact we signed in 71. There was no an attack on one will be an attack on all. No, D'Artagnan and the three musketeers, one for all and all for one, usme nahi tha. It was very clearly we will consult when we are attacked. That was it. Number one. Number two, we don't believe in alliances. We never have and we never will, because it doesn't matter how severe the pressure from China is. We don't get into situations that Ukraine got into. Remember, Ukraine is where it is today because it refused to give the same commitments that India did, which is we will never be part of an alliance. They wanted to join NATO. And Russia will behave the same way that we expect China to behave if we, make those alliance dynamics and things like that. Third, just to add to what General Saab said, the Muslim angle is complete rubbish out here. I don't think it operates on the ground at all, because Indian Muslims are fundamentally Indian citizens. They will shed a few tears here and there. Listen, forget Muslims. Even you and me, Barkha, we're Hindus. We don't like what's happening in Gaza. Right? We don't like seeing women and children getting killed. We don't like seeing men getting killed either. It's not nice. War is not nice. Can I tell you the Dawoodi Bohras? We have many different Shias in India. The Dawoodi Bohras and the Ismailis are only interested in humko paisa dhando karna hai, that is it. And they make delicious food and dhando. Yeah. And
Tehseen is pointing to himself.
yeah, he is. He's all about dhando and delicious food.
Can we unmute Tehseen for half a second? Tehseen, are you trying to say something?
I'm Ismaili. I'm Ismaili. Who is Ismaili too?
And if you look at the Jafi, we need to remember, even though there is this denominational respect for Ayatollah Khomeini's teachings, the actual ground support isn't there. You go to, say, Kargil, which you've been to, you've reported from extensively. I saw images of, Qasim Soleimani, images of the Hassan Nasrallah and things like that. Who are they? They're great martyrs. They died. What more do you know about it? We don't know. And we don't care. They just want to use it to stay away from what was happening in Kashmir at the time. It was more a sort of externalization mechanism than it was any, innate loyalty or whatever. I think General Saab will back me up on this mostly, for most part. So, it has never been religious. Now, when it comes to the Hexagon and these alliances, we need to remember this is a part of the world that does micro-balancing that would send our mind into a spin. During Jamal Abdel Nasser's rule over Egypt, he was this complete revisionist who was interfering everywhere. Yemen, all of it. The Saudis were helping him and sabotaging him at the same time. The Emiratis were helping him and sabotaging it. Jamal Abdel Nasser was trying to get rid of King Hussein in Jordan. Officially, King Hussein had to, kowtow to him in the name of Arab unity. But in private, he was making attempts to have Jamal Abdel Nasser assassinated. The Syrians and the Egyptians once merged into something called the United Arab Republic, which lasted for all of 7 years because the Syrians saw it as Egyptian colonization. And Egypt was largely a lower class society. Syria was a rich, affluent, upper middle class society. They didn't like it and they kicked out the Egyptians. This is a place, if you remember, even in our own lifetime, when the Syrian civil war started, initially the Saudis, Emiratis, and Turks were all on the same page. Then they turned bitter enemies, which they remain to this day. The Saudis and Emiratis were lockstep in Yemen till 3-4 years back. The Emiratis pulled out, and now they're at each other's throats. They were against Qatar. You remember the full air embargo and everything of Qatar that happened. And now, the Amir of Bahrain is hugging MBS and things like, Qatar is hugging MBS and things like that. They, we don't change our policies over 30, 40 years. They change their allies every 2-3 years. It is a very easy zone to operate in if you're willing to be very fleet-footed. So I won't exaggerate that threat. Just last thing, if I may point out, the moment that the Saudis decide to bandwagon with Turkey and Pakistan, you can pinpoint that to when Israel and America comprehensively destroyed Iranian military power and projection of Iran. As long as Iran was strong enough, it was a threat enough to everybody in the Gulf to keep the glue of Gulf unity together. The moment Iran becomes weaker and weaker and weaker, the internal squabbles with the Gulf countries will erupt, be more visible. And so, our interest is in maintaining Iran is just the right level of threat to keep all our friends in the same